This might be the hardest for us. I want to invite us to fast from Christmas music. Over the last few years, I have noticed this phenomenon in our culture. And I don't remember this being a thing growing up. It's definitely been with the advent of social media, but we read social media sites, Facebook, X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, things about like National Sons Day or National Daughters Day or World Day of Kindness, or my favorite, Buy Your Priest a Beer Day. No one's ever bought me a beer on Buy Your Priest a Beer Day. I'm a little miffed by that. But here's my question. Who decides this, right? Who decides this? And why are so many people so tuned into it, right? Posting pictures of their son or daughter on National Son or Daughters Day, or posts about random acts of kindness, or supposedly buying other priests a beer on National Buy a Priest a Beer Day. Look, I have no clue who these people are who are deciding these things, but I do think I know why so many people participate in these national secular feast days. I'll start with this. There's a distinction that goes way back in the philosophical thinking about the world, a distinction in two senses of time, Kronos and Chyros. So what are these two senses of time? Kronos is the steady flow of time as we all know it, the tick, tick, tick of the clock, the seconds turning into minutes, the minutes turning into hours, hours into days, days into weeks, so on and so forth. Chyros is different. Chyros is a different experience of time. Maybe a way we could put it is, it's when the timeless breaks into time. When this other kind of reality breaks in, and it's this sort of suspension of time. It's those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, how has it already been 4 hours? That's Chyros time. There's this human intuition deep in our souls to elevate Kronos with Chyros. You see it in every culture, every civilization, to see the passage of time as meaningful instead of meaningless, tick, 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 right? And one of the ways we used to do that, especially as Catholics, was by attuning ourselves to the liturgical life of the church, right? Liturgical seasons, days of fasting, days of feasting, days and seasons that prepared us for particular feasts, memorials, solemnities, right? Seasons in which those feasts were celebrated as one long, continuous day. Think of the octave days of Christmas, right? It affected how people ate. It affected what clothing they wore. It affected where they went and when they spent their money. And they did things like pilgrimages and processions and holding all night long candlelit vigils or getting up very, very early for early morning masses. All of this was determined by the church's calendar, right? The church's liturgical life, which is not an arbitrary thing. Over the course of long centuries, Holy Mother Church, right, our mother, under the guidance of the Holy Spirit, has discerned this method of drawing the faithful deeper and deeper into the mystery of the Word made flesh, into the mystery of Christ. It's not arbitrary. It's deeply meaningful. So living liturgically, it matters for our walk with the Lord. And it's my opinion, though over the last many years, many decades, we've lost that sense in the church, the call to live liturgically, which brings me to a very, very controversial topic that I want to address. Advent. I want to propose something that just might get me burned at the stake. I want to propose this, that this year, and every year going forward, let Advent be Advent and let Christmas be Christmas. Like, I would say that 99.9% of good and faithful Catholics, faithful Christians, they celebrate Advent, the weeks immediately leading up to Christmas, essentially the whole month of December. They celebrate Advent as early Christmas. And then Christmas comes, and a few days after Christmas, after the 25th, the tree is taken down, it's thrown on the curb, the decorations are getting packed up, put in the basement, and we're preparing our homes for New Year's Eve parties. I want to propose, I want to invite you and your family to just try something new this year, to try to approach Advent this year in a new way. Let's first ground ourselves here in the teaching of the church. So I'm going to read directly from paragraph 524 from the Catechism. When the church celebrates the liturgy of Advent each year, she makes present this ancient expectancy of the Messiah. For by sharing in the long preparation for the Savior's first coming, the faithful renew their ardent desire for his second coming. By celebrating the precursor's birth and martyrdom, the church unites herself to his desire. He must increase, but I must decrease. Okay, so a few things about what the church is teaching us in this paragraph from the Catechism. First this, notice that in Advent, we are not suspending our belief that Christ has already come, and then when we get to Christmas, man, it's so amazing that he finally showed up. It's not as though we're like spending those weeks thinking, man, it'll be really great when Christ shows up. No. What we are doing is we are entering into the ancient expectancy of the Messiah. We are focusing on those texts that spirituality, the Old Testament, our Jewish brothers and sisters, they're looking ahead, they're longing for covenant fulfillment in the coming of the Messiah. We enter into the longing of Israel. And through that, we rekindle our desire for his second coming, right? We say that in the Creed, Christ will come again. He will come to consummate the age. He will come to bring everything to fulfillment. Creation doesn't get deleted in his second coming, it gets completed, right? Which is why we look forward to it with longing and desire and expectant hope. So I could put it this way, what the church is teaching us in this paragraph is that Advent is about entering into the ache, right? Feeling the longing deep in our bones. For what? St. Augustine put it this way, Lord, you have made us for yourself. Our hearts are restless until they rest in you. That we are creatures of the infinite. We are creatures made by God to partner with God. That we bear within ourselves this infinite capacity. The church fathers called it the capax Dei, a capacity for God. That we have this infinitely large Grand Canyon-sized hole in our hearts. And we live in this world surrounded by so many good things, but what we do is we become addicted to the things of this world, so we numb ourselves trying to get more and more of what never succeeds in satisfying. We're called to enter into the ache, to feel the fact that there's nothing that ultimately, perfectly satisfies the heart. The ache in my heart for ultimate fulfillment, the ache in my heart for someone to come and rescue me from this situation. From what situation? From the fact that I am bound by sin and bound by death, subject to decay, subject to forces, subject to living in this world where all the best things fade and decay and go away. Lord, someone rescue me. As St. Paul says, who will rescue me from this body of death? Entering into the ache for someone to come and set all of this right. To set all of this right. You know, all throughout Advent, we sing that ancient Advent hymn, O come, Emmanuel. Right? We're entering into the ache, the O come, Emmanuel. And do what? Ransom captive Israel. That's us. And starting December 17th every year in Advent, the church begins to pray what are called the O antiphons. What are the O antiphons? They're not just beautiful liturgical poetry. They are the rending open of the heart, just like we hear in the Old Testament, this reading that comes in the Advent season. Oh, that you would rend the heavens and come down. It's this longing in the heart. Lord, come and fulfill this heart. Come and rescue me. Come and save me. This is what we're entering into. This is what we're called to enter into in Advent, to enter into the ache. And we can only do that if we actually let Advent be Advent and not prematurely celebrate Christmas. So, what am I proposing? In a word, fasting. Fasting. From three things in particular. I'm going to pitch these in order of what I think might be easiest to hardest. First thing, I want to invite us to fast during Advent from food and drink. I don't mean entirely. I mean those sort of celebratory foods and drinks, those sorts of foods that are, I'll just put it this way, to simplify some of our meals. We think as Catholics that fasting is only for Fridays during Lent. No. Advent is also a penitential season, right? To simplify our meals. Consider fasting from a particular day, right? Just like on Fridays during Lent. Maybe on Wednesdays during Advent, you fast just like you would on Fridays during Lent. To pull back from certain beverages that you really enjoy, whether it's coffee or tea, or for those of you who are 21 and over, from certain alcoholic beverages, right? Maybe simplify, save the cocktails. Maybe I know here in Cleveland, so many people love Great Lakes Christmas Ale. Maybe save the Christmas ale until after Christmas. Save the eggnog till after Christmas Day. So consider fasting from certain foods and drinks. Second thing, fast from decorations. I know, this seems crazy. This seems insane. Who would do this? But hear me out. The church has a tradition of visual fasting. Think about what we do in the few days immediately prior to Holy Week, where we veil our statues and our sacred images with violet cloth, fasting from the visual images that remind us of our sanctification and redemption. I want you to imagine this as an alternative for how to go through Advent as a family. That instead of hauling out all of the Christmas decorations on one day, doing the big sweeping decoration of the house in one day, consider this. Do it bit by bit, slowly, intentionally, with thought. Save the big stuff for last. Save the big stuff for last. I know of a family who has done this, who's fully embraced this liturgical living, right? And Christmas Eve, the tree's up, but it's not decorated. Christmas Eve, all the kids come together and they put all the ornaments on the tree. They decorate the tree Christmas Eve. So that Christmas morning, it's all done and beautiful, right? So there's a transition from Christmas Eve to Christmas Day. Consider fasting from the decorations, or at least doing it slowly, bit by bit, with intentionality. Why are you putting this up? What does it mean? What does it signify? What is it telling? How is it helping us tell the great story? Here's the last thing, third thing. This might be the hardest for us. I want to invite us to fast from Christmas music. I know, blasphemy, right? And I know the reality that we can't escape it, right? You go to any department store, you go to the mall, you go anywhere in these weeks leading up to Christmas, you're gonna hear jingle bells. I know. But in your house, in your car, at your workstation, in your AirPods, right? You can decide what you're listening to. You can decide what you're listening to. Because here's the reality. We've known this for millennia, that music stirs the soul. It moves the heart. So perhaps instead of jumping ahead to listening to your all-time favorite Christmas classics the day after Thanksgiving, maybe consider this. That in these days and weeks before we even get to Advent, work on building like an Advent playlist, your Advent playlist. What are the songs? What's the music? What's the soundtrack of your soul? What is the very thing? What are the songs that stir the ache in you? That stir that longing in you? What is that music that will help you enter into the ache? Listen to that throughout Advent. Maybe some of those pieces are traditional Advent songs. O come, Emmanuel. O come, divine Messiah, right? Beautiful hymns. Work really hard, though, in your world to fast from the Christmas music. Then Christmas Day, let it blast. Joy to the world. The Lord has come, right? I'll end with this. So the church, as a mother and a teacher, she knows what she's doing. She wants to help us live well, to mark the days and the seasons. For Kronos, for our Kronos to be elevated by Chyros, right? She wants us to feast and to revel in the joy of these mysteries. But to feast well, you have to fast well.